Clearly, training over 20,000 men simultaneously was utterly impossible. The underground passageway offered no room for maneuver. This approach might not yield the best training results, but it's the fastest way to scale up. As for how much improvement they'll achieve, that depends entirely on the Hamas fighters' own skill levels. No problem, that's exactly what I was thinking. Han honored to guide Alpha. Soon, under his lead, Alpha met several Hamas high-ranking officials. Sal, Mikan, Unos, and Daimonlos. Han typically managed affairs openly. Behind the scenes, when major decisions arose, the decisions were made through collective discussion among these individuals. Among them, Daimonlos also held the position of frontline commander. It's a high-risk profession. But he'd only been in the role for 3 days. Yes, the previous commander had perished in the earlier bombing. He died. It is an honor to meet you, General Alpha. Upon seeing Alpha, several individuals immediately expressed their profound respect. Gasha was slaughtered by Yisili. Abandoned by the entire world. A handful of nations offered nothing more than empty slogans, no tangible assistance whatsoever. Yemen was different. It could be said that it was Yemen who allowed them to glimpse a glimmer of hope in their despair. They provided weapons to fight the enemies who invaded them. No need to be so formal with me. Alpha didn't act high and mighty, instead, he was quite approachable. Alright, if there are no objections, I suggest we begin training as soon as possible. Yisili's ground forces are about to mobilize and time is tight. Everyone understood. Initiate the training program immediately. Han carefully selected the 200 fighters with the highest average qualifications from all Hamas warriors and handed them over to Alpha. Training commences. As the system awarded Universal Commander, Alpha's abilities were truly all-encompassing. Except for combat. He excelled in every other aspect. Take soldier training, for instance. His training methods are more professional than those of the Lighthouse Nation's poster assault troops. Han wasn't idle either. After Alpha commenced training, he summoned all Hamas high-ranking officials, big and small. They began discussing the tactical plan for the next phase. The course summary was, Zhang Yi instructed them on urban combat. Zhang Yi had instructed them that if they encountered anything they didn't understand or couldn't do, they could also seek Alpha's guidance. After all, tactical planning was one of the many essential skills required of a versatile combatant. At the previous workshop, besides agreeing to supply Hamas with weapons, there were also Ilan, Yilik, and Syria. Zhang Yi had the trucks loaded that afternoon, preparing to transport everything together. This way, all previously promised orders would be fully delivered. Henry wiped the sweat from his brow as he watched truck after truck of equipment being transported out of the country. He couldn't help but feel puzzled. Your Majesty, I can understand sending weapons to the Ilan tribe, but why are we also supplying arms to the Yilik in Syria? They haven't paid a penny. The weapons for the Ilan tribe. That was paid for. As for the other two, Henry saw absolutely no need for it. Iraq and Syria have little overlap with the Kingdom of Yemen. Such military aid would only empower both nations. Who could predict whether, after gradually growing stronger, they might one day turn on their benefactor? Zhang Yi looked at Henry and smiled. Truly the mark of a military commander. Zhang Yi explained. What we gave to Iraq and Syria was all obsolete equipment either gathering dust in warehouses or slated for destruction. Might as well go with the flow and do them a favor. Why is Yisili so arrogant? Because Zhangdong can threaten him. There isn't even a single country that can truly restrain Yisili. With no rivals, he can act without restraint. Zhang Ye's reasoning was straightforward. Cultivate agents. And to learn the proxy warfare tactics of the top 3 among the 5 great benevolent ones. Modern warfare is too costly. The impact on one's own country is too great. The ongoing turmoil in Zhangdong appears to be a conflict among its nations. But that is not the case. Yisili is backed by the Lighthouse Nation and a host of Western powers. And behind Ilan stands the Big Goose. As for the wealthy elite of Sandow, it would be inaccurate to attribute their backing solely to the Dragon Nation. Yet upon closer inspection, one observes that Shashi has drawn significantly closer to the Dragon Nation in recent years. Put it this way. The situation becomes quite clear. Put plainly, it's a 3-way power struggle. The top 3 powers are choosing their bets, investing in proxy wars. They're letting Zhangdong's nation take the field. They're sitting back and watching how things unfold. Why? Because this approach minimizes the impact on their own country. If things get too dire, pull out the investment and cut your losses in time. Therefore, Zhang Ye's investments in Syria and Iraq. It's not about being foolish with money or having a kind heart. It was about cultivating its own enforcers. Chapter 181, The Great Army Assembles. As a kingdom directly under Zhang Ye's command, surely he couldn't have the Yamen kingdom personally handle every trivial matter from now on? That would be utterly beneath them. Only then did Henry grasp Zhang Ye's true purpose, and he couldn't help but feel a surge of respect. Truly a king. Such vision and strategic brilliance were beyond his comprehension. Seems I still have much to learn. Though Henry was a super soldier rewarded by the system, he still possessed human emotions and a thirst for knowledge. That's a good thing. Still, Zhang Yi couldn't resist teasing him. Henry, just stick to being a military commander, huh? Henry scratched his head sheepishly. I wish to be well-rounded in all aspects, he replied, so I can shoulder more responsibilities for the kingdom. Zhang Yi patted Henry's shoulder with satisfaction. You're a quick learner. The equipment will be delivered to Syria, to the area around Al-Raqqa. Both sides were thrilled. As a nation perpetually embroiled in conflict, Syria has endured countless wars of varying scale in recent years. It was the United States and other Western nations. They destroyed their homes. Take Damascus, Syria's former capital, once hailed as the garden of the world and heaven on earth. It boasted numerous ancient structures and relics, such as the Great Mosque of Damascus. And now, many areas lie in ruins, scarred by bombing. Baghdad, the capital of Iraq. Once the heart of the Arab Empire, it boasts a glorious history. The Gris River flowing through the city adds a touch of vibrant beauty. Numerous ancient mosques, museums, and historical sites bear witness to Iraq's profound cultural heritage. It was once a beautiful city. But now, like Damascus, it was ravaged beyond recognition by the ravages of war. Once a glorious history. A brilliant civilization. Scorched to ashes by the wars brought by the Lighthouse Nation. All of it. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a blood feud. No need for formalities, take up your weapons. All you need to do is recognize who your enemy is. Regarding the simultaneous expressions of gratitude from both sides, Zhang Yi addressed both leaders through the screen. I believe you know better than I who forced you into exile. The Iraq leader declared, rest assured, Your Majesty. We shall not disappoint you. Those executioners will pay the price they deserve. The Syrian president followed suit. From this day forward, Syria stands unconditionally alongside the Kingdom of Yemen on the same front. With regard to their performance, Zhang Yi was satisfied. Though he couldn't verify whether their words were true or false at this moment. But their demonstration of the proper attitude was sufficient. Under Jiang Ye's orchestration, the entire situation in Zhengdong was once again unfolding toward an outcome certain parties did not wish to see. Gasha's strength grew. Ilong, Syria, and so on, have all received significant equipment upgrades. Especially Elang. With the air defense missiles Zhang Yi provided them and with full alert status activated, the Lighthouse Nation would have to think twice before invading their airspace. And what troubles Yisili most wasn't even these. Even the fledgling nation now possessed Zhang Yi's sponsored Superbreaker X1. This was a top-tier hypersonic missile. If the target is set within Yisili's territory, they would be utterly incapable of intercepting it. And Libaning shares a border with Yisili. Just imagine. You have a neighbor who swings a large knife near your doorstep every day. How would you feel? That's exactly the situation Yisili is in now. They dare not make a single reckless move. Otherwise, facing the coordinated assault of Zhengdong's forces, they might not hold out. Unless the Lighthouse Nation fully intervenes. But judging by the current situation, a minor skirmish is hardly likely to draw the Lighthouse Nation into the fray. What else could Yisili do? Of course, he'd have to keep a low profile. At most, they might vent their anger a bit more on Gaza's side. Yisili. Under Lu Wen's directives, a massive contingent of Yisili troops had assembled and begun massing toward the border region between Yisili and Gasha. The scale of this operation was unprecedented. There were 2 operational command centers alone. One for southern operations, one for northern operations. The deployed forces included the Parachute Brigade, the 36th Armored Division, the 162nd Armored Division, and the 252nd Sinai Reserve Armored Division, the 98th Parachute Division and the 99th Reserve Infantry Division, the 146th Reserve Armored Brigade, the 261st Reserve Brigade, the 460th Armored Training Brigade, and the 828th Training Brigade. In addition to these, there was a Special Forces unit. Of course, these, including all reserve troops. But the initial invasion force numbered 14,000. This was nearly half the total number of Hamas fighters. Moreover, they were equipped with advanced weaponry, drones, and various armored tanks. They also deployed over 5 D9 or teddy bear armored bulldozers, each costing $1 million, to breach the separation wall and structural obstacles. This facilitated Israeli forces in clearing Hamas from the city. At 4:35 a.m. the following day, following a round of bombardment, Israeli ground forces launched a massive incursion into Gaza. The fighting erupted. Upon receiving the intelligence, Hand ordered some Hamas fighters to enter Gaza's residential buildings armed, engaging in street-to-street combat with Israeli ground forces. Outside, their superior firepower was enough to overwhelm Hamas. But in urban combat, their advantage was less apparent. Take the armored tanks, for instance, giants on land. They couldn't even get in. He had anticipated their arrival, but not so soon. Hand sighed. It had only been 2 days since the Alpha training session. They clearly didn't want to drag this out. They knew prolonging the conflict would work against them and wanted to end it quickly. Alpha crossed his arms. They analyzed the combat footage transmitted from the front lines with Hand and his team. The news quickly spread across the globe. Everyone despised the brutal atrocities committed by the ruthless forces. Yet beyond condemnation, many felt powerless. No other solutions were apparent. Governments offered only symbolic statements on the matter. Lighthouse Nation, regarding the conflict in Yisili and the Gassad region, we urge both sides to engage in peace talks promptly, end the war, and maintain peace and stability in the Zhengdong region. We also call upon the people of the world to cherish and love peace. Basin Nation, war is something no one wishes to see. Calmly addressing mutual grievances is the best approach. War only drags innocent people into the fray, causing more to lose their homes and even their lives. Sun never sets empire. Waging war for fleeting greed will inevitably lead to ruin. We envision a peaceful Zhengdong. The sun never sets. Empire urges all parties to resolve matters through negotiation and cease hostilities immediately. Baguette Nation. Stick Nation. Netherlands. Statements that appear righteous and call for peace. But upon closer reflection, these words become utterly laughable. Chapter 182. He who wins the hearts of the people wins the world. Because of the conflict between Gash and Yisrael, Yisrael is the pure aggressor while Gasha is the victim. Yet in their statements, they directly framed this inherently unequal relationship as a war between two sides. They turned a deaf ear to Yisrael's invasion. They turn a deaf ear. They pin the label of war on Gash. They confuse right and wrong. Any clear-eyed observer could see the deception at play. These statements would have been better left unpublished. The moment it was released, netizens worldwide got a glimpse of the disgusting faces of various countries. How shameless! What do they mean by war between two sides? Did Gaza want to fight? They were forced into defense. It's Israel that's the warmongering aggressor, while Gaza is innocent. Exactly. I've finally seen these countries' true colors. Blame the victim? Disgusting. No wonder they're all in cahoots. I'm sick to my stomach. I've seen shameless before, but never this shameless. I just want to ask, have you people no sense of shame whatsoever? Distorting the facts. Unbelievable that this comes from official government statements. Even as an American, I can't stomach this. If you have any shred of conscience left, please correct the wording in your statement. This isn't war, it's Yisrael's invasion. Yisrael is committing genocide in Gaza. Outraged. Not a single netizen worldwide can stomach this behavior from nations. Later, some countries, under pressure, they could only temporarily remove their posts. As for the Beacon Nation, determined to stand behind Israel, they chose to stubbornly confront the backlash. Scrolling through the comments section, it was filled with abuse and mockery and condemnation from netizens across the globe. Very well. Let it continue. Zhang Yi noticed these messages and a faint smile spread across his face. Keep going against the global community. Keep going against the grain with the global community. That's right. Since ancient times, he who wins the hearts of the people wins the world. The troubles they've sown themselves, the bitter fruits they've planted, will inevitably be reaped by them alone. Zhang Yi contacted Honda. He advised Honda not to panic and to avoid direct confrontation for now. Engage in a series of skirmishes. As for the armored tanks deployed by Yisrael, there was no need to panic. Because long ago, Zhang Yi had supplied them with a batch of Z-type portable rocket launchers. The most formidable feature of these rocket launchers is their ability to effortlessly penetrate any tank's armor. What it comes down to now is whether Yisrael has more tanks or Zhang Yi has more Z-type portable rocket launcher ammunition for Hamas. Rest assured, we have no immediate plans for direct confrontation. Hand was well aware of their own strengths and weaknesses. Yisrael's advance into Gaza hasn't been smooth sailing. The scenes Lu Wen imagined Yisrael's ground forces rampaging through Gaza never materialized. These cowardly bastards. Furious, Lu slammed the battle report his secretary handed him onto the table. They've been hiding underground this whole time. This won't do. Is there any way to lure them out and wipe them out in one fell swoop? He asked. No one responded. If there were a way, we'd have used it already. Why wait until now to bring it up? Lu Wen sighed deeply. His expression was one of utter helplessness. Right. McKenlin spoke up. I recall that after the Yemen kingdom sent reinforcements to Gassan a few days ago, one of their officers seemed to have stayed behind. I wonder what he's plotting. Oh, why didn't you mention this sooner? Lu Wen was furious. McKenlin's tone carried an apology. Sorry, but due to that person's status, we only verified today that they're high-ranking within the Yemen kingdom. A sense of foreboding instantly gripped Lu Wen's heart. This was not good news. That night, Lu Wen ordered Yisrael's ground forces to bombard the city with armored tanks. Several high-rise buildings on the outskirts were reduced to rubble. Then he had men search for the entrance to the underground passageway. After searching all night, no clues were found. Instead, Hamas took advantage of the darkness to ambush and kill several of their soldiers. The situation thus reached a stalemate. After this period of construction, all satellite navigation systems for the Kingdom of Yemen were fully completed. They had entered the final debugging phase. Headquarters. As the doors opened, the interior revealed an array of precision instruments and aerospace testing equipment. At the center of the room, a massive display screen dominates the space. Near the display, another highly intelligent robotic arm was in operation. Your Majesty, would you like me to introduce you? The person receiving Zhang Yi was the head of headquarters. All right, introduce us. Zhang Yi looked around curiously. He'd never seen anything quite like this before. To put it plainly, any single high-intelligence device in here would fetch billions on the open market. The manager's face lit up with pride. He gestured for them to enter, then led Zhang Yi on a tour of the headquarters. The headquarters occupied a vast area. It spanned over 30,000 square meters. Beyond the central control area in the front section, there were also testing zones, data analysis areas, and more in the rear. Numerous operational devices emitted faint, multicolored glows. It looked quite sci-fi. Your Majesty, please observe these devices. They monitor our satellites. Conditions in outer space are highly variable. Through these systems, we receive real-time satellite data. Should any damage or unexpected incidents occur, we are alerted immediately. Next is the data debugging area. Satellite navigation is now in its final phase. Once debugging and testing confirm no issues, it will be officially launched to the market. As for this section, it houses our space monitoring station and satellite signal reception center. Its primary functions are to analyze space data and transmit satellite signals back to Earth, ensuring precise control. Under the guidance of the responsible personnel, Jiang Yi finally understood. Not a single thing in the entire headquarters was simple. It wasn't just high-tech, it was cutting-edge technology. After touring, the array of precision equipment and high-intelligence workstations was dazzling. The manager then produced a mobile phone. This phone already has our navigation system installed. Take a look. Jiang Yi unlocked it, swiped through the interface, and opened the map. The map instantly pinpointed their location within Yamen territory. Jiang Yi zoomed in repeatedly until he realized the navigation pin was precisely where he stood. When will the final test be completed? Jiang Yi asked. He couldn't wait to release and promote Yamen's satellite navigation technology worldwide. Currently, in the field of satellite navigation, GPS held a dominant position. Jiang Yi was confident that once Yamen's navigation system was unveiled, it would break this monopoly. It would bring enormous revenue to the Yamen kingdom. Satellite navigation technology. It may become a resource-rich kingdom with oil fields, natural gas, various minerals, arms, and Alzheimer's disease treatments. It could become another major source of income. Chapter 183, Raid Operation. Departing headquarters. Jiang Yi instructed the global media conglomerate to release the news online. He then temporarily logged out of the game. Jiang Yi opened a web page. He searched online for GPS's economic profits generated for the Lighthouse Nation over the years. The data available only covered the earlier years. A study revealed GPS generated a visible economic return of up to $56 billion for the Lighthouse Nation. In recent years, with the popularization of satellite navigation, the economic value GPS brings to the United States has skyrocketed. Its peak civilian economic benefit has even surpassed $300 billion. Jiang Yi reflected for a moment. Navigation systems. Indeed, with the advancement of the times in recent years, its applications have become increasingly widespread. Specifically, this can be seen in the following ways. Everyone uses navigation when traveling. Take taxi drivers on the streets, for instance. It's unclear exactly when they began to proficiently use satellite navigation. And whenever navigation systems are used, the Lighthouse Nation profits from it. There's no way around it. Who can blame them for monopolizing this technology? As for how they profit, Jiang Yi looked into it further. To name a few examples, take mobile phones and car navigation systems, for instance. To install a GPS system, service authorization is required, and manufacturers must pay fees. These costs are ultimately reflected in the product price and indirectly borne by consumers. A complete satellite navigation system also brings benefits to the development of industries surrounding the Yamen kingdom. For instance, it can stimulate the development of industrial clusters related to location-based hardware, navigation services, scientific research, and technical standards. This can increase tax revenue and economic benefits for the Kingdom of Yamen. Of course, Yamen Kingdom currently lacks the hardware infrastructure for related industries. But just because it doesn't have them now doesn't mean it won't have them in the future. Comprehensive development, after all. It must cover all fronts. When the time is ripe, Jiang Yi envisioned the future Yamen Kingdom engaging in all industries. It will become a global supercomplex integrating industry and economy. The matter of Yamen independently developing its satellite navigation system, amplified by global media coverage. It didn't take long. It captured the attention of major tech companies worldwide. Many dismissed it as a joke. Currently, only a handful of countries possess independent satellite navigation systems. Canada, the United States. China is also working on it, but it remains in the development phase. Even the so-called Baguette Nation, Willpower Nation, White Elephant Nation, and even the Empire of the Sun never sets one of the 5 great benevolent powers have yet to develop their own satellite navigation systems. And the Kingdom of Yamen, which has only existed for a few months. The Lighthouse Nation. The Big Goose. How long did it take them from planning to development to launch? A decade or two. So no matter how you look at it, it's highly unlikely. The Lighthouse Nation's official channels also picked up the news immediately. Initially, they were concerned. After all, the Kingdom of Yemen's satellite navigation technology would inevitably challenge GPS's global monopoly. Fortunately, after hearing explanations from professionals, they were reassured. Is this just a publicity stunt to grab attention? Just pandering to the masses? A week passed quickly. Gasha. Inside the underground base, Alpha surveyed the 200 Hamas fighters he had trained over the past week. Alright, my training for you ends here. You know what to do next. Go defend your homeland. Han's expression was filled with excitement. For days, Yisrael had relentlessly bombed Gaza. The rumble of explosions echoed overhead from time to time. Yisrael's advance was slow. Yet within days, they had seized the outer main city districts. The 200-plus men took a brief rest. 50 men were left behind to pass on what Alpha had taught them to the others. The remaining 150 men, fully armed, slipped out of the underground base under cover of night and emerged onto the surface. Tonight, they were to carry out the surprise attack mission Han had assigned them. We barely resisted these past few days. They must think we've given up, so their guard will inevitably be down. Tonight's ambush has a high chance of success. Rest assured. Han addressed the over 150 Hamas fighters through the handheld radios supplied by Zhang Yi. He addressed the over 150 Hamas fighters. He examined the device with curiosity. It was like a walkie-talkie, but far more reliable than walkie-talkies. No need to worry about jamming and no risk of being bugged. The Hamas fighters nodded. Each wore a look of unwavering resolve. Hamas members. Most were refugees from Gaza. Many among them had endured the agony of seeing loved ones killed by Israel. They have suppressed this hatred all along. Will they get their revenge? It all hinges on tonight. A district flattened by tanks or bombers. Though this was the city's outskirts, there were still many buildings. Due to Gashan's urban layout centered around the city core, structures were densely clustered. At this moment, over 60 men from the 146th Armored Brigade of the 36th Armored Division of the Yisraeli Army were resting at their positions. Most were asleep, with only a few left on guard duty. At that moment, one of them yawned and grumbled, "I don't see the point of standing guard. They're not going to attack us." Another guy chimed in, "Not so sure about that. Hamas is right here in the city. They could be looking for an opportunity anywhere. Stay alert." "Ha, you're overthinking it. With their meager strength, they couldn't even scratch us. Besides, if they dared to attack, they wouldn't have held back all these days." True enough. His teammates were convinced. To them, Hamas was nothing but a bunch of cowards all talk about fearlessness, but each more timid than the next. Their ground forces had been attacking for a week. They haven't encountered any real resistance. Yet, just as both men relaxed their guard and began to doze off, suddenly, an unusual sound echoed from the distance. Something seemed to be flying toward them. What was it? They hurriedly looked toward the source of the noise, but before they could make out what was happening, a deafening crash. Boom! The violent explosion instantly overturned one of their armored brigade's tanks. The armor plating, made of what they claimed was an impenetrable special alloy, was shattered clean off. The tank's tracks were completely destroyed, and a massive hole was blown through the operator's compartment. The tank, perfectly intact just a second ago, was now completely destroyed. The light of the explosion reflected in their eyes, and waves of scorching heat from the flames lashed at their faces. Stunned, they stood frozen in place, speechless for a long moment. After a full dozen seconds passed, they finally screamed in panic. "Oh no! Enemy attack! Enemy attack! Hamas is attacking!" The soldiers of the 36th Armored Division and 146th Armored Brigade, who had been fast asleep, were all jolted awake. And the thing that plunged them into despair had come to pass. Chapter 184, Annihilate the Armored Division. After that tank was bombed, a rocket landed near their camp. The soldiers snapped awake. All traces of sleep vanished. Only one thought filled their minds. Run! But human speed was utterly useless against the blast wave. After barely 2 steps, they were knocked flat by the blast, then engulfed by the flames ignited by the explosion. Ha! Ah! For a moment, the entire camp echoed with the sizzling sound of grilled squid. 2 kilometers away, inside the 7th floor of the ruined building, a Hamas fighter examining a Z-type portable rocket launcher broke into an excited grin. The agonized screams of the Israeli soldiers. To them, it was undoubtedly the most beautiful music in the world, no contest. Moments later, he used his handheld radio, reporting this situation. "Report! Report! The main force has been destroyed. The main force has been destroyed. Good. The rest of you, move in and wipe them out." Hand was trembling with excitement. At Hand's command, hundreds of meters from the Israeli army camp, over 60 Hamas fighters swiftly charged in to clear the battlefield. The explosions killed most of them, but there were still survivors. "Don't kill me, don't kill me. We surrender. We surrender." The fear of death gripped the Israeli soldiers like a giant hand clamped around their throats. Facing the black muzzles of guns, they begged for mercy. Surrender? Hand laughed. What of all those times Yisrael bombed Gaza, causing so many deaths? Ignore it. Kill them all. Hand had considered sparing some as hostages or interrogating them for intelligence on Yisrael. But these low-ranking soldiers were unlikely to know any internal secrets. As for taking them hostage, Hand only wanted to kill them all now, to vent his rage over Yisrael's repeated bombings. Nothing else mattered. Almost every Hamas fighter shared this mindset. Before long, the entire camp, over 60 soldiers from the Yisrael Armored Brigade, was wiped out. The enemy must have realized what happened. Reinforcements are on their way. We need to pull out fast. Hand issued the retreat order. After the Hamas fighters completed their withdrawal, the Hamas soldier who had initially hidden on the 7th floor of the ruined building, armed with a Z-type portable rocket launcher, aiming the barrel at the 3 remaining tanks of the Armored Brigade. 3 successive rounds struck with pinpoint accuracy. 3 more ISIS-equipped tanks were destroyed. "Did you record it all?" Stowing the rocket launcher, he turned to ask. "Yeah, no problem. All recorded." "Good. Let's go." The 2 quickly departed to rendezvous with the main force. For this operation, Hand had ordered the crew to film the highlights, and those last few shots were definitely iconic moments. As for why Hand made this request, it was actually Zhang Yi's order. Hand didn't know what Zhang Yi intended to do with the combat footage. Perhaps for combat analysis. Upon receiving the footage, Han immediately forwarded it to Zhang Yi. "Good work. As Jiang Yi watched, he praised the combat prowess of the Hamas fighters. No, Han replied modestly. It's mainly due to General Alpha's training. Han said modestly. Jiang Yi smiled. That's true. Alpha's training has been highly effective, otherwise, the entire operation wouldn't have gone so smoothly. But the Hamas fighters' willingness to sacrifice their lives was equally crucial. This alone. Yisrael soldiers could never compare to Hamas. What should our next move be? Han cautiously inquired. You just attacked Yisrael's armored brigade. They'll retaliate fiercely tomorrow. First, secure positions inside the residential buildings. Give them a surprise tomorrow. With East Seli's fiery temperament, this matter won't be left unresolved. Tomorrow, they'll definitely assemble a large force and conduct a thorough sweep within Gaza City. So now we need to secure positions in the residential buildings. That way, we can leverage the terrain to our advantage. Combined with urban combat tactics, we'll strike Yisrael right where it hurts. Jiang Yi paused, then added, right to prevent them from bombing before deploying their main force, avoid overly conspicuous locations. Waiting until after tomorrow's bombardment to seize control of the residential buildings first thing isn't out of the question. Understood. Han immediately relayed Jiang Yi's tactics to the assigned units. His admiration for Jiang Yi grew steadily. From the initial suspicion upon their first meeting. Because Jiang Yi was so young. Then came awe. Realizing Jiang Yi's formidable strength. And now, he was utterly captivated. He regarded Jiang Yi as nothing short of a godlike man. Not only had he propelled the kingdom of Yamen to monumental growth. With just a few casual pointers, he'd given them the means to confront Yisrael. After hanging up with Han, Jiang Yi reviewed the battle footage once more before uploading it online. Since it was nighttime, Jiang Yi didn't expect the video to go viral. However, Jiang Yi had underestimated his current reach. The moment the video went live, within 7 minutes it garnered over 200,000 likes and nearly 1 million views. Within half an hour, likes hit 1.22 million. Cross-platform views surpassed 10 million. Yes, 10 million views in just half an hour. This view count is staggering by global standards. And beneath this video, the comments section is even more fascinating. Many were stunned by the video's content. Wait, is this Hamas? Where did they get such advanced rocket launchers? Is this really the Hamas I know? Could this be CGI? Unbelievable, Hamas is supposed to be broke, right? And what the hell kind of rocket launcher is this with such massive firepower? Damn! Taking out a tank with one shot is a bit over the top. If I recall correctly, that should be Israel's Merkava series main battle tank. I remember these tanks prioritize top-of-tank protection for modern warfare, with modular specialized armor on the turret. This makes the Merkava series exceptionally resilient even against 3rd or 4th generation anti-tank missiles. And yet it couldn't withstand a single shot? The rocket launcher Hamas used must be something special. The guy above really knows his stuff. To add to that, the Merkava series uses a front engine design. This places the engine at the front of the hull, which contributes to the tank's armor thickness. Yet, that rocket clearly hit the front of the tank and still destroyed its defenses. All I can say is that armor-piercing power is terrifying. As they say, amateurs look at the spectacle, professionals look at the details. This world has no shortage of bullet hell masters. After the experts explained it, everyone finally realized just how formidable Hamas rocket launchers really are. The question arises, where did Hamas fighters, who struggle to even feed themselves, get these weapons? Chapter 185, Atoning Through Action, Advancing with Vigor. Yisrael. Southern Command Headquarters. What? Our armored brigade was ambushed, every man dead? Higgins leapt from his chair in shock upon hearing the news. Yes, and all 4 Merkava main battle tanks were destroyed. Our losses are catastrophic. How could this happen? Harkins slammed his hand on the table. They've been hiding in that underground base we thought Hamas had given up. And now you're telling me they've struck? And killed over 60 people, blowing up 4 Merkava main battle tanks? With the weapons Hamas has, how could they possibly pull off something like this? The enemy seems to possess some kind of powerful rocket launcher. A single rocket can destroy one of our Merkava main battle tanks. Higgins was plunged into existential doubt. As one of the primary leaders of Southern Command, he knew his incompetent subordinates had landed him in serious trouble this time. A bunch of useless idiots, every last one of them. Higgins roared in fury. Why didn't you detect their attack plans earlier? It must be your negligence. Sorry, the one reporting the situation is the very platoon leader from the armored brigade that was attacked. I'll have you court-martialed. Higgins roared with fury. The squad leader trembled in fear, unable to utter a word. He kept his head bowed, silently enduring Harkins' tirade. After a full minute of yelling, Harkins finally ran out of steam and stopped. He forced himself to calm down for another few minutes. Higgins reported this news to the Yisraeli High Command. Lewin nearly choked on his own blood upon hearing it. Over 60 casualties for Merkava main battle tanks. The gains they had just secured in Gaza. All gone in an instant. What about the week-long effort? My deepest apologies, President Lewin. This incident rests entirely on my shoulders. Those incompetent subordinates must have been negligent, leading to this disastrous outcome. Rest assured, I'm mobilizing forces immediately. First thing tomorrow morning, we'll storm Gaza City and apprehend every Hamas operative involved in this operation to face justice. Honestly, Lewin wanted to tear Harkins apart. But it was too late now. Killing Harkins now would serve no purpose. Better to let him atone through action. You'd better deliver. Or else you